Michael, Tony, we have a big game on our hands on Saturday. The biggest game in both of these clubs' history, in my opinion. Now, some people might say Vancouver's Champions Cup match against, or this past summer might have been the biggest match, but I think this is the biggest match. I mean, it's a chance to win their first trophy for both of these clubs. And Tony, San Diego's first year in the league, a hell of a way to make an entrance, right? So it's been an incredible season for both of these teams. So I want to start off with Tony. Tony, this is an expansion team. I had you on last year before they even played a single game, and they were still, before they even had, I don't even know if they had like 2 or 3 players yet when I first had you on. Man, how did we get here?
I mean, it's been an incredible journey. Thank you for having me on, man. And look, I've been following this team since it was announced here at Snapdragon Stadium and in the shadow what was San Diego Loyal. So I think what's been developing this year is that you've been able to really see a team that has a blueprint in the way that they're just going to go ahead and be built. Wow, everything with Right to Dream, FC Northland, this project that's been being spoken of, the academy that's going to be here in Southern California, being able to scout not just in the U.S. but into Mexico as well. So there was a lot of ambition at the beginning of this project for San Diego FC, and with that, a lot of question marks. Everybody was putting them in 15th, and was equally as wrong as anybody who was, being crazy enough to put them anywhere near the top, finishing in the season, let alone into the Western Conference Finals in the inaugural season. So,
Hey, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Our goal is to hit 12,000 subscribers by MLS Cup Final Day, which is less than 2 months away. A lot of exciting playoff games ahead of us, and we have real momentum, so I think we could hit that goal. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Now, back to the video.
I mean, it's been a development of a style that's like I said, had a blueprint, but the way it's being implemented and applied to MLS has been fascinating to watch. And having these players grow within this league and really just have that be a determining factor in the fact that it's brand new for everybody. And there's a buy-in that was immediate, especially after that first LA Galaxy game where they were the reigning defending champions, the first game ever against Los Angeles, big brother here in San Diego, and they took it to the champs. And since then on, it's been a momentum roller coaster. And here we are now, one game away from the MLS Cup final.
Well, I want to talk about the playoff run in a second, but man, you perfectly encapsulated this season, especially being expansion team, starting from scratch, having all these players learn each other, completely brand new team. It's not easy, man. Like you said, a lot of people predicted they were going to be maybe finished last in the Western Conference just because of how hard it is, and here they are, a chance to play in the MLS Cup final if they win on Saturday. Now, Michael, a different story with Vancouver. I had you on a couple months ago, and we talked about how the team was up for sale. We were talking about who might buy the team. Man, talk about a 180, completely different from what I thought was going to happen at the beginning of the season. How did we get here? How did Vancouver go from listing the team for sale to now being a chance, one game away from winning or going to the MLS Cup, and now the ownership wants to keep the team and get an investor bought in?
Yeah, that last point, I think, may have always been in play, and they just were putting out the sale rumors to kind of see where that went. But I mean, Jesper Sørensen deserves all the praise here, and he's come in. No one really knew what to expect. Much like what Tony said, I don't think anyone had us making the playoffs in a lot of cases, never mind getting to the final. And these are the top 2 teams in the West all season, by far, without a doubt. Now, LA's come on strong. LAFC's come on strong down the stretch, but these have been the 2 most consistent teams, and it all comes down to their identity. Both teams got their identity early. Jesper Sørensen plays a kind of right to dream style football as well, and he touched upon that today in his press conference. And everything's just come together. Having the injuries at the start of the season really helped the team because it got everyone minutes. Everyone learned the system. Everyone bought into the system. Everyone that's had to come in knows how to execute the system. And that's what's taken us this way. There's been a couple of speed bumps along the way. and just getting the Wednesday, Saturday run going at the start of the year got everyone into the groove, and they've just not looked back.
No, I agree. And I want to continue on that with you, Michael, talking about their playoff run, right? I want to touch on this too. Before they signed, or before, like in the middle of the summer when they played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they reminded me a lot of Philadelphia. They were just a very good collective team who played great ball as a team, right? And they had depth. And I felt like and we saw them lose the final. Maybe they were missing one piece. Now, Ryan Gauld was obviously hurt for most of the season. He's a very important piece, but maybe something even a little bit bigger than that. And when they signed Thomas Müller, it's like he was the missing link to really get this team to their full potential. And now they are, not to say they couldn't before, but they are like a legitimate MLS Cup contending team. And I feel like that has been the biggest difference maker in this second part of the season. And we've seen in the playoffs, this LAFC match. It's one of the best games I've ever seen. That was one of the most exciting games. BC Place was rocking. The fans were electric. I mean, this is just perfect, man. And I just feel like the second half of the season is better than the first half. And that's saying a lot because the first half was incredible.
The only games that the Whitecaps have lost, really, once everyone was back from international duty and it was really from post-Gold Cup onwards, the only games they've lost have been when they've had a player sent off. And that just shows to how they work as a unit. Now, the problem is we've had players sent off and we've got to kind of keep that discipline. And Thomas Müller's come in, and this might be a strange thing to say. He's been good, but he hasn't been great. If you look at his output in goals and assists, yeah. But if you look at the other bits of the game, there's been big chunks of matches where he hasn't really been involved. And if you look at Son at LAFC, I think of the two, he's had the bigger impact since coming in because he's been more consistent. What Thomas Müller does is he gets a lot of attention. 2 men on him at a lot of times. So that then frees up space on the field. He's also a player that can generate space out of nothing. And what has been really crazy is in a number of games, he has been allowed free headers in boxes. Teams have just not marked him. And we even saw that on the second goal on Saturday. All the days are blurring into one now. But corner comes in. He rises unchallenged to get onto that ball. Lloris makes the save. Laborda tucks in the rebound. You should not be allowing a player like Thomas Müller to just rise and meet a header like that. And that's what teams have done all year. His one-touch play is great. His football IQ is obviously really up there, and it's been getting the other players to get to that level. Some of them still have a long way to go, and it's knowing what run to make. Oh, he's going to play the ball here. But as long as he's in the team and on the pitch, he gets attention, and that's what helps the Whitecaps. It's much like San Diego. If Dreyer's on the pitch, all the attention's on him because we know what he can do now. And if you can negate him, if you can negate Muller, then it's a whole different team that you're going up against. Knowing that and doing that are two different things.
Yeah, I just to touch on Thomas Müller real quick. I think like you said, maybe his impact's a little bit overstated, but it's more of the confidence he brings on the pitch because he is like a coach on the pitch, and I think he helps these players play with more confidence. We know that a lot of his goals have been penalties this year, but I just see him pointing to players, telling them where to run, what to do. And I feel like that is something that I wouldn't necessarily say needed, but has made them even better. And this was already a great team. So you got a great manager on the sideline, and now you got a great coach, it seems like, on the pitch as well. Now, Tony, as far as San Diego, we saw in Leagues Cup this summer, this was like the first experience we got to see them in a tournament style. They failed pretty miserably. They did not look very good. And that was one of the I guess, red flags for me is that when you see an expansion team, you never know what you're going to get. And we saw them kind of failing in Leagues Cup. So I was like, okay, in the MLS Cup playoffs, it's going to be another notch. These are going to be better teams. They're going to be motivated. I figured they were going to struggle. I was wrong. And I should have never doubted Anders Dreyer because the guy is just very, very, very special. and you guys are very lucky to have him. I know 29 other teams in the league would love to have Anders Dreyer. But man, are you surprised that they've gotten here even after some of the struggles you've seen in other tournaments? So like we talk about expansion team, it's not easy to win.
Yeah, just looking at the trajectory of this season for San Diego FC, it was readily apparent that they were going and gunning for MLS glory and really wanting to focus on that tournament. And didn't mean that Leagues Cup didn't necessarily matter to them, but there was a clear downshift in intensity, not just in the player selection and itself, but just the gameplay in general. And it seemed almost like just a game that kind of got in the way of MLS and their projects. And so that did leave a little bit of a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, how that ended. Only one victory against Mazatlan, a team that no longer exists in Liga MX, to give you a sense of how that, that level is. But it's one of these things where San Diego FC, it's just, you don't know, but the patterns that they do show you is that they are a good team that bounces back, especially anytime they're backed against the corner. They know how to respond. Some of their best performances are actually on that bounce back from a loss and lessons learned. And that's one thing that this team has been able to really do, is learn lessons because they stick to that same style. They are stubborn and sometimes even monotone in the way that they play. And so whenever you have that steady pace and there's something that's slightly offbeat, it's just a matter of making that adjustment, and the machine just continues on and on and on. With that, you do have the X factors of Anders Dreyer, as you're mentioning, right? Anders Dreyer is just at a completely different level, and all praises go to sporting director Tyler Heaps for being able to identify such a bargain from Anderlecht over in the Belgian league for 5 million. Just an incredible piece of work there. And the MVP of San Diego FC for sure. But then you look over on the other side and say, hey, well, Pellegrino, this guy who came out of absolutely nowhere and from the basement of San Jose, is now having a world-class run and is in world-class form, and even dethroned the other DP, Irving El Chucky Lozano, where Chucky right now is just the accoutrement to this incredible team that's now being cemented. And that's the thing with San Diego FC. And I think I mentioned it last time I was here. This is a team, and the team aspect cannot be understated. From the first moment they met each other, there was a sense of belief, and Mikey Varas has been able to harness that and really push it forward as a team, as a collective. And that buy-in is felt through, not just within the team, but just within the stadium here in San Diego. And it's honestly electric what's been happening here. But it's one of these things where you still don't know what to expect. I think even right now, there's just no expectations, and that's the key now. That's why San Diego is a dangerous team. You don't know what to expect. And if they go ahead and get knocked out 3-0 against Vancouver, you're going to go ahead and say, great, that was still the greatest inaugural team of all time. They had a great run and they made an impact, and watch out next year, because guess what? All these players, they're like 18, 19, and they're going to come back more experience. And then that's going to go ahead and build some more interesting times for the league, is for sure.
And I also want to point out too, real quick, I mentioned this on my previous episode, that both of your coaches are first-year coaches in Major League Soccer, as well as the two coaches in the Eastern Conference Final. So all four coaches are new to MLS, which is very impressive. So it's a very complicated league that takes some adjustment time for a lot of guys. And the fact that all four of these are brand new managers is pretty cool to think about, and they were able to adjust so quickly. Now, Michael, as far as Vancouver, I mentioned earlier about them playing LAFC, what was probably the most exciting game I've watched all year long. It was absolutely crazy, even to the last. I just recently had a kid, and I told my wife, I said, all right, this game starts at 9:30 Eastern time. I'll be back at 11:30. Everything's good. She's thinking, where the hell are you at? It's 11:30. It goes to extra time, extra 30 minutes, and then it goes to penalties, and then we're adding an hour extra onto the game. So it was just a crazy, crazy match. And I thought it was incredible. But obviously, Vancouver played that game at home. You mentioned earlier before the show started that you thought that Vancouver let the first place spot slip out of their hands. They should have been the first place team in the Western Conference. Is this going to be a big deal? They have to go to San Diego and play on the road to go to the MLS Cup final?
Yes and no. I mean, the number one spot was Vancouver's. They threw it away against Dallas, and despite trying to get the 1 point they needed, they couldn't get it. in many ways, it kind of works out better because they would have probably been playing LAFC in the final this coming Saturday. No disrespect to what San Diego might have done against LAFC, but it could easily have been that. So now I think we've got two very evenly matched teams that I don't know that we would have got if we'd been the number one seed. And it's a great stadium, or it looks a great stadium. I've never been down to Snapdragon. The pitch is a concern after last night, but I know folk are saying, well, it's not going to be as bad. Now, that affects Vancouver with how they play with their wide wingers and wanting to get the ball out there. BC Place turf is terrible, but the players are used to that, and they would rather be on grass, and I think a final should be on grass. It's an advantage to San Diego, but it's also pressure on them as the home team because you're going to have basically all San Diego fans. If they go behind or it's 0-0, it gets nervy. We saw that at BC Place on Saturday. Halftime, place is buzzing, 54,000 folk. As soon as LA pulled it back, it dipped, and everyone's just so nervous. And I hope it's a good game. I'd prefer it not to be like Saturday, to be honest. Like, if we're going to lose, I'm happy to lose 3-0 because then it's not stressful. If we lose 1-0 and it's after extra time even, it's sheer hell. I went through it with Scotland on Tuesday, qualifying for the World Cup. And then I thought that's the most stressful it's going to be. And then 5 days later, I'm at BC Place, and I stopped writing my match report because I was like, I just need to watch this. I cannot take my eyes off it. I think it's going to be a great game. And Tony spoke about San Diego being a team. Whitecaps are also a team. And that's why I'm glad it's these two sides in the final. There's a very telling picture from the penalty shootout on Saturday. And all the Whitecaps players, their arms are around everyone at the halfway line. LA, no one had their arms around each other. A couple of guys were sitting down. And it's like, that's a team against a group of talented individuals. And when you've got two teams and they'll fight to the death and it's a brotherhood, seriously, this can go any way. They're two talented teams. They've both got players that can win it. They've both got weaknesses that the other team's going to exploit. And it's a toss-up for me who can win this.
Yeah, they're two well-gelled teams, but they're also two well-coached teams. Like, I think that's another thing. Tony, it's possible that MLS Cup could go through San Diego. You need some help from New York City FC in the other conference, but how big of a deal is that San Diego FC is hosting this Western Conference Final at Snapdragon?
I mean, it's huge in terms of just the soccer community that's been here before San Diego FC, and just really what it means to people who know that San Diego is a hub for the sport in this country and two nations, even with Tijuana as well. Their team over on the other side of the border being a couple of 15 years, 16 years old. Like, it's very recent professional sport in this region, and so I think that's going to be huge locally. It's still soccer in America. So, the main TV outlets are just kind of now like, so tell me about this Chucky. Tell me of this Dreyer, like the ice cream. Like that's kind of where we're going right now with that. But in terms of the people who know, the people who have been following, who have been wanting a team here for MLS, it's going to be absolutely huge. And really, you're starting to see the movement of people caring about what's being built here more and more. The common Joe. I work in the education, and throughout the schools, you start to see the workers, the teachers, the staff, the kiddos just starting to wear the merch and little things like that it's starting to impregnate into the city, into the community. And I think that is something that the team even feeds off of for sure. Mikey Varas in the in a post match last night, just said like, this is a reflection of the community, and this team plays like that. And so that's something that gives them strength. But overall, I think San Diego is ready for this moment. If for some way and reason New York goes past Miami, and then San Diego is able to have just a MLS Cup final, I think That's going to be fantastic for the league just in general to have that here. We'll see what the pitch is like. Just the reports are as of today that new grass is being laid on there. So unfortunately, if it does go into San Diego's favor and New York's favor, and it's here in San Diego State American football team plays on November 28th, and that might tarnish that a little bit. It's not ideal. Just the situation on the pitch. And you mentioned it's not the turf, but look, first thing, Captain Jesper Sørensen, I asked him, hey, take me through that game, take me through that goal. He said, first thing out the gate, unprompted, the field was terrible. It needs to go. There's just way too much sand on there, and it's just a safety concern. Last year, San Diego Wave's final home match was actually moved within the week because it was unplayable at Snapdragon Stadium. It's better this year, but hopefully this is still going in a positive direction for San Diego. This weekend, San Diego's popping. We got Western Conference Western Conference Final, and then you also have Survivor Series for WWE. It's a great weekend for San Diego sports fans.
So let me follow up and ask you, because I want to get into this game. This is a big matchup. This is the biggest game of the year for either club in MLS, at least, right? Tony, what is the key for San Diego FC to win this match? Because it's going to be a hard-fought match. Like, Vancouver is going to come down swinging. We saw even with the adversity, we'll talk about this with Mike a little bit, or the adversity they had suffered against LAFC, because LAFC was very hot, especially when Son Heung-min had joined the team. They were able to hold on even down to 9 men in extra time. What does San Diego FC have to do to win this game at home against a very, very formidable opponent in Vancouver?
They have to win the midfield battle. This is something that San Diego FC is known for, having a good midfield. Anibal Godoy has been doing a fantastic job as the enforcer. Jesper Sørensen, obviously a revelation, and then Oni Valakari in there, kind of being that X factor, center attacking mid, where on the defensive end he may be lacking a little bit, but if he is able to connect on the offensive side and relieve some pressure from Anders Dreyer, Pellegrino, he's going to go ahead and be successful in laying assists in, and then just finishing those chances. Because San Diego FC, while they are repetitive, while they are stubborn in playing the same patient way, the slow drip, there's going to be windows of opportunity to have creativity, and the moment are going to present themselves, and they have to go ahead and take those. Yesterday, Anders Dreyer had the only shot on goal against Minnesota, and it's the game-winning goal. So, I mean, that right there, it's just being absolutely clinical with the chance or chances that you may get against a very good Vancouver team. And honestly, too, is step up to the moment. These kids, and I say kids because they are, genuinely just recently children, and the back line have been absolutely fantastic. Mano Dua, Bombino, you saw the save on the line by Ian Pilcher. These are super draft picks from this last season. They were playing with in colleges at UC Santa Barbara and USD, and likewise. But this is a moment for these players to really rise up to the moment and not shy away, because they deserve to be here, because they've played like grown people and they've honestly earned it. And it's time to not shy away from a world breaker like Thomas Müller, and just that's a guy that played in the World Cup and destroyed Brazil 7-1. Like, that's the tantamount resume that Thomas Müller brings to this team, and the confidence. And as you're mentioning, that's a leader on the pitch. And so if it's going to be General Sverskov versus General Müller, well, I mean, that's point Müller for sure.
Michael, I just mentioned too about LAFC, Vancouver. It's not easy to hold on to a lead when you're down to 10 men, like you talked about. You said any game that they've slipped up on, it's because they've lost somebody or someone got sent off. They lost a guy. Another guy got injured. So they were down to 9 men for like 6 minutes of the extra time. Maybe it was less than that, but it was a decent amount. It felt like an eternity.
Yeah, it was 9 minutes to go, and then 4 of stoppage time. So it was like 12, 13
Oh, so it's 12 minutes. Yeah, so it was even longer. And then he had the Denis Bouanga off the post twice, and then David Martinez is three shots, and it looked like it could have went in, but they were able to hold on and persevere and make it to the Western Conference Final what does Vancouver need to do in order to win this game? And also, too, real quick, I forgot to ask you this earlier. Is Thomas Müller going to be healthy? Because it looked like he maybe pulled his hamstring in that game. Is he going to be good to go against San Diego FC?
We think so. He's doing a press conference on Thursday ahead of the game, so we're thinking he is. He didn't do anything apart from laps at training today, but it was our maintenance day. So a few of the guys were either in the gym or doing laps. So he's moving. So it looks good. But I hadn't realized about the hamstring till I went home and I rewatched some of the game. And I was like, oh, that's why he went off. Because when you're there, you're like, why have they taken him off? That's really weird. Especially because they put on a young homegrown guy to replace him. Yeah, he should be good to go. I don't know what the lineup is going to be. I know what I think it's going to be, but Jesper Sørensen at training, after training today, threw a little curveball where he said, watched the game last night, and they've taken a few things for how Minnesota played that game. He said, not that we're going to be playing as defensive as them. So it's not going to be like 8 men behind the ball and a solid line of 8 or 9 players at free kicks, which Minnesota were fantastic at last night and stifling. But it made me think one of two things. He's either going defensive and going 5 at the back, which would allow our wing backs, Ocampa and maybe Tate Johnson, to get up the wings and have a solid back 5 because we don't have a recognised centre-back pairing. Or he's going to go really ballsy and go 3 at the back. Jodrik Pupa, who we signed in August, and then he came with a hamstring injury that took ages to heal, and he's only had fleeting minutes. He likes to play on the left of a back 3. So I'm wondering, because of what Tony said, the midfield's the key. It's like whoever wins that midfield battle wins this game. So is he wanting to get 4 or 5 guys in that midfield? Berhalter, Kubas, tremendous in the middle of the park. Kubas was immense on Saturday, and a lot of what he does goes under the radar. But like he'll be up for it, and he'll do well. It'll be a nice matchup. I'm worried if Dreyer floats out to our left. Who's on that left? If it's young Tate Johnson, I think he could get burned. If it's Matthias Laborda, I think he's going to pick up an early booking. So then it's, are we seeing through this game with 11 men? But it's a team that is a bit older than San Diego, and in some regards quite a bit older. But we've had that experience now of being at a big cup final and being destroyed in Mexico. And I went down for that, and it was a horrible occasion. And it was a great moment on the one hand, and I'll look back in years to come and think, oh, I saw my team in a Champions Cup final. But when you're sitting there in the stadium, and where I was sitting, because the press box was full, Tony, and we had to sit in amongst all the fans of Cruz Azul, and I was like, I can't cheer if anything happens here. I didn't get a chance to cheer, but that game was over so quickly. But that hurt the players so much, and they learned from that, and they'll use that hurt in this final, and they'll use that experience in that final. And do the young guys freeze a little bit? Does San Diego end up like Vancouver did against Cruz Azul? The way they've played, I'm not sure that they will. But the San Diego that we saw against Minnesota wasn't necessarily the full blown attack and exciting San Diego that we've seen in other games. I do wonder if part of that, though, is because they went all out in the meeting down there in league business, and then Minnesota just hit 3 times on the break and scored against the run of play, so they're a bit more cagey. I think this might start off cagey, much like LA Whitecaps did. But these are 2 teams that want the ball. They want to play football. I think the Whitecaps might give the ball up a little bit more than we usually see from them and try and use their pace. But yeah, it's a lot of waffle to say that's basically, I think it could be an edge for the Whitecaps with the experience that they've got.
Yeah, and also too, real quick, one thing that I noticed about the LAFC match is that they just killed LAFC on the wings. I thought Ahmed had a great first half. I thought Sabini had a great first half. I thought, and even Laporta, and as a fullback, had a great first half or a great game in general. Like it felt like so many players, and Kuvas in the midfield and Berhalter, it just felt like they literally played great as a team in that first half. They dominated in that first half. I thought it was going to get ugly. I didn't think LAFC had a prayer to even cut it to, tie it up in the second half. And I feel like if they play like they did in the first half, Michael, they will have a very, very good chance at winning this game. And we'll see if they can. Now, Tony, what is the key to, or not the key, but what needs to happen? Who's the X factor for San Diego FC to win this match?
I mean, I can go with the obvious Anders Dreyer, right? If he really wants to feel himself. And in this last match, he wasn't 100% in the post match. He let us know that, he was sent back from the Danish national team camp because he was dealing with an illness and a flu. And he flew in on Friday, had a training session Saturday, Sunday for this weird Monday night football situation. But he still wasn't feeling 100. So if, that's his road to recovery. I'll just have to say, Jesper Sørensen, like he's somebody who is involved in every part of the pitch. He is the first center back that you're going to go ahead and face, and the first attacking player that's going to come out from behind the lines in the midfield. And so if he's able to have a really good performance and match up with Muller and have that just class that he's been able to really just set the tone, set the tempo for San Diego FC, this team will be fine. But I mean, it's also very difficult to not say Chucky Lozano, because Chucky Lozano really hasn't had any minutes, any time and space to make any significant impact in playoffs because of the way that Pellegrino's been playing, his injury that he picked up with Mexico. But it only takes a moment of brilliance by him to really be the deciding factor and split this game. And so I see it a DP versus DP battle, the two different ways that these teams have come together. One team with Vancouver, who was pretty much priming themselves to welcome in a DP to take them to that next level. And then San Diego FC, who had the two DPs from the beginning and build that foundation with them. One of them with Dreyer just being incredibly more successful, and now being here where, hey, maybe that luck just runs out at this point. So it's going to be really interesting. So I think the DPs are going to be the X factor in this match for sure.
It's hard for me to pick a specific player. Obviously, Dreyer and I think Muller are going to be the ones people focus on most. But I think if we're talking about units, I think San Diego FC is going to have to do really well in the midfield. LAFC struggled in the midfield and they got exposed. That's why they looked so bad in that first half against Vancouver. So I think the midfield is the positional group I'm looking forward to most for San Diego FC against Vancouver. And when it comes to Vancouver, Mike, we hit on earlier with the injuries and Tristan Blackman being out, center back. How are they going to hold back there? That's what I'm going to be interested to see. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor. Is it going to be San Diego FC's midfield holding up better, or Vancouver's center back pairing going to end up having the better performance in the full 90? Now, Mike, I want to ask you this. I'm going to stay neutral. I'm not going to give my prediction yet. I'm going to do that in a separate video. But I want to ask you, how do you think this game is going to play out? Who's going to win this match? What's the score going to be?
This is like a heart and head thing, and it is because of the defensive situation with us. Like Pellegrino scares me with the defense that we've got right now. Now, it's not that it's a bad back four, and they've shown that when they've got adversity and they're down, they can play well. So if they're on their top levels, and Brian White is kinda at his best because he's not, then I think 2-1 Whitecaps. I can see it going to extra time though. Unfortunately, I'd prefer it not to, but I'll go 2-1 Whitecaps.
Me too. I don't know if I can handle another 3-hour game. It gets, I'm already not getting enough sleep. It's getting rough. Tony, how do you see this game playing out? Does San Diego FC, are they able to win and make it to the MLS Cup final, or does Vancouver going to have their number?
I mean, these teams really haven't had a deciding factor between them outside of one Milan Iloski, which San Diego no longer has. So I think it's been a easy sort of easy street in that 5-2 victory. But in this matchup, if San Diego FC is able to step up for that challenge, for that moment, and we've seen them being capable of doing that, and I don't think San Diego FC have played their best outside of that 4-0 third game against Portland. If that San Diego FC shows up, I think it's going to be very difficult for anybody to really be able to stop them. And just it's an absolutely well-oiled machine that San Diego FC is capable of. But there is this sense that, you know, Whitecaps do know how to go ahead and get themselves into penalty situations. And with that, I think that San Diego FC has to be very careful and very disciplined in that box in those moments, especially with that youth and inexperience, to be able to make smart tackles and not give up penalties. With that said, I'll give the same 2-1, but on San Diego's side. I think San Diego pulls through on this one for sure. I don't even want to say for sure, but like it's going to be tough, but it's going to be an incredible matchup for sure.
Well, I'll say this. I know all three of us are very excited to see what happens and which team prevails and makes it to the MLS Cup final. And depending on how it goes, we'll have one of you guys on the next episode to preview the MLS Cup final. So I want to wish both of you guys luck on your teams. And before I go, Michael, where can people find your work at and find your podcast?
Best place, just go to the website, aftn.ca. We've kind of taken a bit of a backseat more with the written articles this year because it's just been so hectic. So you'll get all our podcasts and everything on there. And I just want to wish Tony all the best. I think we're probably on the same page. If it's Miami that get in, we want whoever wins this one to end up lifting the trophy at the end of it.
Tony, where can the people find your work and your podcast at?
Well, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. A pleasure, Michael. And may the best team and best city win for this one. You can find my work and everything that we do here on San Diego.futbol. That's the website, not .com, just San Diego.futbol. We're actually going to go ahead and go live here in about 22 minutes from the Two Balls and a Mic studio, as I'll go ahead and share. It's not sharing right now, but I already have Chiva ready to go on the other side for our podcast here at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Let me see if I can share this. Chiva, are you here? Share to the side. Go to the side. There he is. He's ready to go.
There we go.
Here in studio. So check us out, San Diego.futbol, for everything San Diego soccer related.
Listen, I appreciate both of your guys' time. Good luck to your clubs. You know, it's going to be a special day regardless of what happens. It's going to be a big game. We'll see what happens. Guys, if you enjoyed this show, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, I will see you all soon.